The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is
John C. Myers.
And we are a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in popular and not so popular franchises. And today we are discussing Pet Sematary Bloodlines from 2023 from, 4 weeks ago or something. This is hot off the press, hot off the biscuit, right here. Probably our most recent film. As far as the calendar goes.
It wasn't an emergency podcast.
There you go. Yeah, we did somehow Pet Sematary Bloodlines did not qualify for emergency pod, but
yeah, this was more like threat level orange. This wasn't full on.
Right. This is I was curious about Bloodlines just because I thought that the timing would work out when we were trying to decide our next franchise. And I was like, oh, David Duchovny's in it. Oh, this looks like it goes a little bit more into the old folk horror type of stuff. That might be pretty good. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. It's a little bit like it should have been called Pet Sematary. My fault for asking.
Right. There you go.
I feel like I got a little wishmastered on this in that, the previous ones were like, oh, what if they focused a little bit more on like a thing that tied it all together, or, these questions that, Andrew Divoff apparently heard us and went, your wish is granted, and gave us this.
Right.
This is just so forgettable and lazy.
It sucks because, and I'll probably say this a few times during this, but this is one of those cases where there's enough bits that I like, or just like enough general stuff that I'm usually a sucker for, but even I couldn't get behind it this time. I like the sins of the father, family histories all coming together. I like, a lot of the folk horror masks and stuff like that, but it just never meant anything here.
No, and this one was written, again, Jeff Bueller, who did the last one, came back for this one, as well as it was also co-written by the director, Lindsay Anderson Beer, and this is her directorial debut, having just done before this writing a romantic comedy. So, and I don't want to, there have been plenty of people. We've done movies with people that aren't necessarily like horror's always been their thing. Obviously Mary Lambert came from music video background.
Yep.
Tom McLaughlin from Friday the 13th. I don't know why all my references I always just go back to that series. But like he was not really a big horror guy, but boy, does Lindsay Anderson Beer just not have a knack for horror.
Yeah.
And I think some of the laziness and the kind of sketch stuff, I want to put more at the feet of Jeff Bueller, because the previous Pet Sematary kind of felt like that, like not really fleshed out characters.
Right.
It being a more low budget, straight to their streaming service kind of thing. Like, I don't know, corporate involvement and all this stuff, but like there were just so many decisions made in this that I find kind of baffling.
Yeah. It's hard to know, especially because maybe and I don't know if there's truth to this or not, but like if it's a company like Paramount, they probably have a lot of people putting their thoughts into something, especially for a first time director. And I don't blame her at all for taking the gig, because like, heck yeah, if someone offered me a Pet Sematary movie, I'd do it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like this, and I get very much the sense that seeing what's next up for Lindsay Anderson Beer, because despite wanting to do more Pet Sematary, right now there's not a lot more on the books. But this thing came out October 6th. So,
right.
But right now, what's up next for her writing wise is a screenplay of the King Killer Chronicle, which some people are excited about. That's that fantasy series by Patrick Rothfuss.
Right.
Not a fan, but that's a different podcast, I suppose. Right. And Mask, Mobile Armored Strike Command, that 80s cartoon.
Oh, goodness.
Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light, also an 80s cartoon. A remake of Short Circuit. So,
content
working like crazy.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, definitely a person that like works on a number of different things, a hired gun, so to speak.
Sure. And yeah, must have been a thrill to get to make a Pet Sematary movie. And I don't want to take that away from her at all, but it just feels just kind of bland. Bland.
It sucks. I'll go further than bland. Right. This thing blows on just a number of levels.
Yeah. Not even David Duchovny could bring life to this, and I'm such a fan.
And someone needed to bring life to David Duchovny.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Poor guy. I didn't even know that this was a period piece. Like, I didn't even know that this was the Judd Crandall story. Like, I didn't watch any trailers or anything like this. I was just like, I did one of those things where I'm just like, well, I got a horror franchise podcast, so I know I'm going to watch this crap sometime soon. So I didn't even have to convince myself to watch it. But at the opening, I was like, oh, fun, a 60s period piece, like 1969, like that could be fun. I don't know. And then when I realized that it was the Judd Crandall story, I thought, oh man, this crap.
Yeah, I had the same thing, that kind of like the slow dawning horror of realizing it was going to be about Judd Crandall, because ultimately, and this will probably come up a lot, if this is indeed true, if this all happened,
good call.
None of what Judd does makes any sense in the other one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, this is definitely a prequel to the 2019 one, because I can't imagine Fred Gwynn's Judd doing any of this.
No, not at all. But, and we don't have to go off on a prequel tangent, but this is why prequels so seldomly work for me, because you have to just look forward into the future and be like, that wouldn't come out that way if the prequel was effective,
Yeah. Like, after all the stuff that happened in this, all like the stuff that's supposed to be deeply meaning to you, you're like, well, what if I did a cat?
Right.
Like, it just doesn't really, I don't know.
Yeah.
Feel pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. Where to begin? We open on just a shot of David Duchovny, trying to bury something we're not even sure.
The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is
John C. Myers.
And we are a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in popular and not so popular franchises. And today we are discussing Pet Sematary Bloodlines from 2023, from, 4 weeks ago or something. This is hot off the press, hot off the biscuit, right here. Probably our most recent film. As far as the calendar goes. It
wasn't an emergency podcast.
There you go. Yeah, we did somehow Pet Sematary Bloodlines did not qualify for emergency pod, but
yeah, this was more like threat level orange. This wasn't full on.
Right. This is I was curious about Bloodlines just because I thought that the timing would work out when we were trying to decide our next franchise. And I was like, oh, David Duchovny's in it. Oh, this looks like it goes a little bit more into the old folk horror type of stuff. That might be pretty good. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. It's a little bit like it should have been called Pet Sematary. My fault for asking.
Right. There you go.
I feel like I got a little wishmastered on this in that, in the previous ones were like, oh, what if they focused a little bit more on like a thing that tied it all together, or, these questions that, Andrew Divoff apparently heard us and went, your wish is granted, and gave us this.
Right.
This is just so forgettable and lazy.
It sucks because, and I'll probably say this a few times during this, but this is one of those cases where there's enough bits that I like, or just like enough general stuff that I'm usually a sucker for, but even I couldn't get behind it this time. I like the sins of the father, family histories all coming together. I like, a lot of the folk horror masks and stuff like that, but it just never meant anything here.
No, and this one was written, again, Jeff Bueller, who did the last one, came back for this one, as well as it was also co-written by the director, Lindsay Anderson Beer, and this is her directorial debut, having just done before this writing a romantic comedy. So, and I don't want to, there have been plenty of people. We've done movies with people that aren't necessarily like horror's always been their thing. Obviously Mary Lambert came from music video background.
Yep.
Tom McLaughlin from Friday the 13th. I don't know why all my references, I always just go back to that series. But like he was not really a big horror guy, but boy, does Lindsay Anderson Beer just not have a knack for horror.
Yeah.
And I think some of the laziness and the kind of sketch stuff, I want to put more at the feet of Jeff Bueller, because the previous Pet Sematary kind of felt like that, like not really fleshed out characters.
Right.
You know, it being a more low budget, straight to their streaming service kind of thing. Like, I don't know, corporate involvement and all this stuff, but like there were just so many decisions made in this that I find kind of baffling.
Yeah. It's hard to know, especially because maybe and I don't know if there's truth to this or not, but like if it's a company like Paramount, they probably have a lot of people putting their thoughts into something, especially for a first time director. And I don't blame her at all for taking the gig, because like, heck yeah, if someone offered me a Pet Sematary movie, I'd do it.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know?
I mean, like this, and I get very much the sense that seeing what's next up for Lindsay Anderson Beer, because despite wanting to do more Pet Sematary, right now there's not a lot more on the books. But this thing came out October 6th. So,
right.
But right now, what's up next for her writing wise is a screenplay of the King Killer Chronicle, which some people are excited about. That's that fantasy series by Patrick Rothfuss.
Right.
Not a fan, but that's a different podcast, I suppose. Right. And Mask, Mobile Armored Strike Command, that 80s cartoon.
Oh, goodness.
Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light, also an 80s cartoon. A remake of Short Circuit. So, you know,
content
working like crazy.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, definitely a person that like works on a number of different things, a hired gun, so to speak.
Sure. And yeah, must have been a thrill to get to make a Pet Sematary movie. And I don't want to take that away from her at all, but it just feels just kind of bland. Bland.
It sucks. I'll go further than bland. Right. This thing blows on just a number of levels.
Yeah. Not even David Duchovny could bring life to this, and and I'm such a fan.
And someone needed to bring life to David Duchovny.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Poor guy. I didn't even know that this was a period piece. Like, I didn't even know that this was the Judd Crandall story. Like, I didn't watch any trailers or anything like this. I was just same. Like, I did one of those things where I'm just like, well, I got a horror franchise podcast, so I know I'm going to watch this crap sometime soon. So I didn't even like have to convince myself to watch it. But at the opening, I was like, oh, fun, a 60s period piece, like 1969, like, that could be fun. I don't know. And then when I realized that it was the Judd Crandall story, I thought, oh man, crap.
Yeah, I had the same thing, that kind of like the slow dawning horror of realizing it was going to be about Judd Crandall, because ultimately, and this will probably come up a lot, if this is indeed true, if this all happened,
oh, good call.
None of what Judd does makes any sense in the other one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, this is definitely a prequel to the 2019 one, because I can't imagine Fred Gwynn's Judd doing any of this.
No, not at all. But, you know, and we don't have to go off on a prequel tangent, but this is why prequels so seldomly work for me, because you have to just look forward into the future and be like, that wouldn't come out that way if the prequel was effective, you know?
Yeah. Like, after all the stuff that happened in this, all like the stuff that's supposed to be deeply meaning to you, you're like, well, what if I did a cat?
Right.
Like, it just doesn't really... I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. Where to begin? We open on just a shot of David Duchovny, like trying to bury something. We're not even sure. And his dog gets scared by some sort of jump scare immediately. Don't know what it is. It's something in the ground. I don't know. At this point, I had no idea that it's Bill Baderman, of course. So
he buries his son, who like apparently buried him in the express lane of the Pet Sematary, because he comes back immediately.
Again, the timing.
And yeah, we get a jump scare that leads us into the opening.
So yeah, right here, I'm just like, oh, it's a 1969 setting. This is going to be kind of fun. And oh my God, what happened to Crandall all beefed up and haughty in 1969? Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that John Lithgow wasn't super hot when he was young, but like this guy is just a gleaming specimen of a man that I just can't believe in any way, shape, or form. I just like when people are that attractive, I'm like, yeah, but I don't know what you're going to offer to the film.
Yeah, I mean, he's hunky, and the movie like spends a lot of time with him like in tank tops and stuff like that, or like being naked. In fact, at one point, another character comments on his body, but kind of the same thing. Where like, and I think this is just could be a function of getting old, but the same thing with the woman that plays Norma, Natalie Allen Lynn. I'm lifting this joke directly from writer Brandy Jensen, who said it about Jessica Biel. You have a face that knows what text messaging is. Like, I can't, you don't, I'm not buying you as a 60s person.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't say anything about her performance because they don't give her anything to do.
Right.
This whole series has not been great on women characters. And this one's not too different in that regard.
Yeah. They're kind of left to just be dealing with their husbands and or boyfriends burying stuff and suffering the consequences.
Yeah. Or in this case, like routinely terrorized and taken out of the picture. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why is she in this? Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. We find out that young Judd is on his way to the Peace Corps, and this is his only characteristic pretty much throughout the entire movie. He just wants to help people. He's altruistic. Nothing in his performance sells that, but they kept coming back to the Peace Corps. But it does remind me of one of my favorite things that I think is a joke in some of the early Twin Peaks episodes, where they keep piling on all the altruistic things that Laura Palmer does.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where they're just like, is it true that you that she delivered Meals on Wheels to elderly shut-ins? And I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, they're building her up to be the most amazing person. Yeah. But Judd, it's just constantly like, I want to help people. I want to be altruistic. I want to get out of town. I'm like, well, you're so bland in wanting to do that too.
The only moment that he has some kind of like depth of character, at least in this opening part, is when he runs into David Duchovny, like grocery shopping.
Oh, Norma and I are going to Michigan tomorrow. We are joining the Peace Corps.
I just want to be with Norma, and that's what she wants to do. So I guess that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Like, it's tiny, but it's something there. Mm-hmm. So I'll give that to Jackson White, who played Judd Crandall. But the rest of the time, it is just like, I'm just a hunky do-gooder. That's it.
Just call me Superman.
Yeah, it's So that's they're going to Michigan to join the Peace Corps. I don't know why Michigan, but that's where they want to go. And I also just like, sure, Judd's a peacenik. It's just, I kind of have to keep telling myself this is a prequel to the not Fred Gwynn version. Cause I'm like, I don't think Fred Gwynn would do this. like that Fred Gwynn isn't playing a character, but you know, that Judd would, that version of Judd, I don't know. And just like the fact that he comes from like these liberal parents just seemed very like, yeah, that was totally small towns in the 60s, but you know,
exactly. Crandalls are having dinner. Says he saw Bill Baterman, talks about his son is back with an honorable discharge, Silver Star, the works. And this is where I started putting together that this is the characters from each version's backstory database of just saying like, this is the father whose son came back from the war, who he buried in the pet cemetery. Immediately,
I've mentioned already, I'm going to mention it again several times since they lean on this pretty heavily. Just watch Death Dream. Just go watch that.
Right.
Go watch Bob Clark's Death Dream. So good, and does whatever this tries to do so much better in that regard. Because I thought it was going to be just that, which I wasn't necessarily against. Of like, because that's there's a lot of interesting stuff there, and then stuff that still can be mined differently, whatever. Oh no, they're not going to do anything involving character. Don't worry about that. Which, by the way, speaking of characters, did you recognize who played Judd's dad?
Yes, Henry Thomas,
shown up again in an unfortunate sequel like Psycho 4, and he's been in some other ones too.
Yes, he's been in a lot of Stephen King movies, actually, like 4 or 5 of them. Even your favorite.
I was trying to avoid talking about it.
We won't, for the sake of Dan. That's for you, Dan.
Yeah, so they're talking about how he's back from the war, but they don't want Judd to go to the war because, you know, the Vietnam War is bad. But hey, Judd, I'm going to go watch hockey tryouts tonight. That was a father-son thing. I know you're leaving town, but let's go do that. By the way, before we get too far down to there, when Judd runs into David Duchovny at the grocery store, it happens because Judd is looking at an old photo of him, his friend Manny, and Timmy. And pay attention to that photo because that's the most backstory you're getting about these people. That's going to do all the heavy lifting
about those 3 guys,
about their relationships. Just that photo. So pay attention to that one.
Takes place in a treehouse. You just got to know 3 boys in a treehouse. That means summertime chums, no matter what. So
they go to the hockey practice to get some nice hockey. And this is kind of when I started to get worried about the actual like filmmaking about this movie. During the hockey tryouts, there's all of a sudden a close-up on a guy in another dimension, apparently.
I saw that one.
Yep.
Yes.
It's just a close-up of him, and he's apparently the announcer. And it's
Yes,
like, oh, hey,
rough.
thanks for coming out. Also, by the way, we posted draft information.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how that worked at all.
I think a small town, like a community center, would have that kind of information because it's just like putting up a notice and that kind of thing. Sure.
That's fine. But just, it was the fact that it was just like, oh, so all we're getting of this guy is a close up and no idea of really where he is in relation to anyone else or anything. All right. Well, that's a way to do it.
Right.
But then I was later to learn that's going to be a reoccurring theme.
Yeah. That's one of those kind of things that you only once you start picking up on, you really start picking up on, and it is so disorienting. I mean, it's not quite necessarily like crossing the line, as they say, like the vision line,
the 180 or whatever.
Yeah, but it is like one of those filmmaking things of like, you just have to like establish where people are within context of each other. Otherwise, they just look completely removed.
Yeah.
From the rest of the action.
Like, even if it wasn't as close up on him as he was, like it was a little bit further out, but like I could see, oh, he's in a booth or something. Like, no, he is just close up on this guy somewhere.
Judd and his dad, they go check out the lottery numbers for the draft. To anybody younger listening, look up the draft lottery in the 60s, because this will never not be horrific to me. And, there are other movies that, do this far better than Pet Sematary Bloodlines. But the idea that you can be 17 or 18 years old, your number comes up and you're shipped off to Vietnam to fight a war, I'm going to go on record. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, no, I think I appreciate your bravery, and I'm going to,
Thank you.
I back you on that.
Yeah, thanks. I do it for the troops, but,
hashtag.
Right. But, so yeah, at this point, Judd finds out he's been skipped over. We don't get a sense that he wants to go to Vietnam, but there is a little bit of that sense. I think what they're trying to go for, that other better movies have done, where a young man is just like, why do I keep getting skipped over? It's not like I want to go, but I feel like there's something beyond me being acted on me.
Yes.
And I'm also just as masculine as everybody else that should be going to fight in this war. That's an interesting psychology to me. Not saying they achieved it here, but that's what they were going for.
And that's also like you during the scene as well, you also get to see his friend Manny, and you could tell it's Manny because he's dressed the exact same way he's dressed in the old photo of them. Right. But that Manny is played by Forrest Goodluck, who is absolutely amazing in How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Can't recommend that movie enough. Can't recommend his performance enough. Good stuff. And he's not bad here, but it's another thing of like, they didn't give him a lot to do. But he's a troubled Native American buddy of Judd.
Judd talks to the mayor, and we find out that from the mayor that Judd will be the first Crandall to leave town, which doesn't make sense until later on in the film. Dad's proud, all that kind of stuff. After Judd walks off, the mayor did mention that they found an open grave the size of a dog. The mayor is talking to he's talking to Pam Grier, right?
Pam Grier as Marjorie Washburn.
Show your respect, everybody. Yeah. The mayor is talking to Pam Grier.
Show your respect, mayor.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's all these there's a couple of furtive glances during the hockey thing as well, like the I don't know if furtive is the right word, but where like Dan Crandall is like makes eye contact with the sheriff, and he seems kind of sketchy.
Yeah,
that these two people are talking about this Greg being dug up and the history of the Crandalls. And again, like this movie not being great to him, and I thought they kind of let Pam Grier down a bit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like a lot of us, she's getting up there in years. So, I mean, I don't necessarily need to see her doing the same stuff she was doing in Coffee, but it's like, oh man, it's Pam Grier, have her do something.
Yeah. Yeah. The next scene, Judd pulls out, leaves his folks as they wave. It's very Wonder Years scene. He's departing for the final time. He's out of Ludlow forever.
Yeah. Gives one final look at the treehouse that we all know and love so much and means so much to all of us. And we'll spend so much time in that treehouse.
Judd and his girlfriend are talking about where they might get stationed, and he once again just wants to serve, man. He wants to help people. Yeah. To your point, he's probably just going with Norma because he doesn't know what else to do. Just as they're excited to leave, a bird crashes into their windshield. And a really gross, messed up dog stops the car in front of them. Doesn't physically stop the car with a paw. I mean, but like, that would be cool. It's just a funny.
He's just on his hind legs, like arm on hip.
Right. It was just a funny edit because it's just like, so the bird hits the windshield, they stop, and then you realize a dog is out there. Was the dog using mind powers or nature powers or something?
I don't know. I don't think anyone was using mind powers in this movie, but no, I think they hit the bird and then like they managed to stop right in front of the dog or something. The dog, it's sitting like it's taken a dump. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to describe it. The way when it cuts to it, it's like he looks sick and he's just like, bleh.
Right. Well, he is back from the grave.
I guess that's true. I don't know how much that backs you up, but
right.
it's a pretty sickly looking dog.
Right.
So like, well, that's Timmy's dog. We got to take it back to Timmy. So they go to Timmy's house, which is of course fallen into disarray. Apparently, David Duchovny has been very upset by the loss of his son. They don't know that the son actually died, but so it's pretty crappy. And I did like the shot when they first see, like they're approaching very cautiously because it's kind of creepy, and Timmy, which is just a great name for a villain, like just talked to them through a hole in the screen, and it was very like it distorts his face and kind of makes it look like skullish, and I thought that was kind of a neat setup.
Yeah, for sure. So Timmy starts taunting him about not going to war.
You think you would have lasted one day in real combat? Because I think that you'd piss yourself so bad that you set off a minefield, and that you're lucky that old Dan Crandall paid off that doc to keep you out the war.
How is that a taunt? Because I know I personally wouldn't last one day out there.
Well, it was a different time. People were trying to be masculine, and he also tells him he would pee himself so much it would set off a minefield. Which I was I was trying to work out the logistics of that. I missed some of the follow up, but I was like, how? First of all, that's a lot of pee. And are you peeing at the mine? Are you on the mines? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Are you weighting yourself down?
You got a whiteboard, Timmy? I know this is 60, but I need to see the raw data for this show.
Out of nowhere, the dog attacks Norma, bites her arm, something fierce, and Timmy fires a rifle into the sky to call up the dog. This gore stuff is actually kind of brutal looking. Evidently, they got to stay for a few nights at the hospital before they can escape Ludlow.
So this drove me nuts for a couple of reasons. One being that dog attack is nothing but close-ups.
Oh, that's true too.
It's like they got their fight choreography from the Russos. Like it's just nothing but close-ups. Yeah. You have no real idea what's happening. You can see the dog's biting her arm, but then it's just all just done in close-up.
Sure.
I thought the gore effects were decent, but I did not like that. And then when he fires the gun, dog gets called off. He takes her to the hospital. This is the very next scene. They're in the hospital. He has flashbacks to the dog attack. We're having flashbacks to the scene that just happened. What are you doing?
Right. Also, you don't need to have flashbacks to the dog attack even later in the movie.
We just saw it. I mean, it's a thing that drives me nuts. And I think some of that comes from doing this podcast and watching movies like Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, which they made for like a day, or they had like just a few days to shoot. But you're working a movie for Paramount.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
Sure. Who decided on that edit? Yeah. Judd runs into Manny and they chat on a bench about Timmy and how he's all weird now and not the kid they used to hang out with in their treehouse.
Norma got attacked by Timmy's dog.
Shit. Is she okay?
I think. Timmy just watched. Like he was looking right through it, like he wasn't there or something.
And Manny's just, solemn, I guess. Judd goes to see Timmy, and he's standing over a disemboweled cow with bloody hands. Billy Bitterman shows up, and weird, Timmy is just gone now. But we just saw a flashback. What was this? So he just disappears.
No, see, that's what I thought at first. That's what I thought when I was first watching it. I thought that was the case because he comes up and you just see Timmy's back and he's standing over the dog. It's all kind of like trippy. The camera's wavy and just close up. You just see Timmy mostly silhouetted. He's staring into the sun. And first I thought it was like a premonition or hallucination or something. But you can hear on subsequent watchings, when David Duchovny shows up, you can hear a of him running away.
Oh, gotcha.
Which makes so much less sense than the previous. I mean, the first one is kind of like a cheap, we just needed to add some gore here. This doesn't necessarily fit in with the plot or anything else, but it would still would have set a mood or been interesting. But to have him scamper away.
Yeah.
What?
It's almost like they had to shoot the rest of that scene on a day that Timmy wasn't available. And so they had to fix that stitch it together in the edit with a Foley of him running off.
Yeah, or there's something they got rid of that would have connected that. And so it's very strange. Because then David Duchovny comes out, and I swear to God, I'll stop talking about this, but he's very standoffish because, Judd's asking some questions and what's going on. And they kind of have a tete-a-tete. And then when Judd sort of like steps forward, you get a close-up of David Duchovny. Again, this is just close-ups between them talking. And then David Duchovny has a shovel, and you see his close-up of his hands tightening on the shovel. And then Judd in close-up backs up. At no point is there any kind of like idea of where these characters are with each other or anything like that. Nope. It's just, let's just get this out of the way. Let's just, this is what needs to be presented. You need to just have this information of what they're saying and that he's not happy. Let's just move on. And it's just, it's really awful. It's just crummy filmmaking. And it really drove me nuts.
You just need a good wide shot right there.
Something. Let me
just like the beginning of an action on the wide, cut to the close.
Can we pretend that these two characters are in the same scene? Just can we just try that? There's
an implication in this scene that that Daddy Crandall bought Judd's way out of serving in the war somehow, which I guess was a thing.
Yeah, because this is something that we brought up in the previous ones in the book with this story, rather than sort of the zombie version of him that was in the 89 Pet Sematary. When he was confronted by the townspeople, he started telling them like secrets about themselves.
Secrets. I like that.
Timmy is doing this a lot. Timmy has already like said something to Judd about like his dad paying people off. And then I think and this becomes a reoccurring theme that this is what the dead do.
They're blabbermouths. They're gossips. The dead are gossips.
They're just messy bitches that love drama, which again was something that was like, that's cool. What if we explored that? And then this movie went, I hear you.
Yeah, right. Not this way.
Yeah.
Judd goes back to his parents' house and asks his dad why Billy Badernan knows why he's been pushing Judd to leave town. There's a quick shot of his mom's ankle looking a little gnarly as she leaves to go make Norma a pie. This never comes back up.
No. Was it a tattoo? Was it a knife wound? I couldn't figure out what was going on there.
Yeah, it's just, I thought there was some sort of like implication, like, was she buried in the Pet Cemetery like last night or something? Like, I don't know, of course not. But like, they draw attention to this weird thing on her ankle and then it never is resolved. So they get in a little argument about protecting him.
Everything we've done in our whole goddamn lives has been to protect you.
Okay. I don't need you to protect me, Dad.
You do. If you won't, get the hell out of Ludlow.
So Dad's just pushing him to get out of Ludlow this whole time. Cut to Timmy making a list of names that don't mean anything to us. I think that you can kind of see Crandall, but I'm not sure. We don't know if they're people names, place names, anything. They're just names. And he's also fidgeting with his skin on his finger, which comes sliding off into a bloody mess.
Now that was creepy. I did like that, particularly compared to some of the other effects that happen later. But like when, he just starts peeling it, and it just stays on this one shot for a long time as like just this grape jelly comes out of his finger, and it was disgusting. Really liked that.
Yep.
It kind of made up for like what's going on here, because this movie doesn't give you a lot of, Timmy is always this other and is always outside. You don't ever really get other than this scene, like you don't really get a sense of like what's going on with him and David Duchovny's character, their struggle or whatever. It's always just everyone reacting to what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was a real missed opportunity there, because I thought that could be, I thought the actor playing him, Jack Mulhern, was pretty interesting, and I could have watched a lot more of him.
Yeah. Pam Grier in a cowboy hat sees the dog and Timmy approach.
I heard you were home.
Am I home? Because I don't know. I'm starting to think home's just another box. You know, like a mailbox or like a coffin. Just a place to store our shit and pretend that we're not nothing for the little time we got left. Because that's what your dad said right before he hung himself, huh?
Again, getting into the drama of the town and, knowing some secrets. And then the movie just sort of cuts away.
That concept of either like, here's your deepest, darkest secrets is a really interesting one. In the story that Judd tells in the book, it just seems like it adds to the horror of like, well, this thing's back and it's somehow knows something about us or whatever. And I realize that's not enough to sustain an entire movie, but just if something was done with that, if it was like, oh, it's like Needful Things where they're causing havoc in the town because like people are finding out other secrets about
are
each
getting
other.
out.
Secrets getting out, or just like,
it never matters.
That it emotionally affected people and altered their lives in any way other than just like, well, now I feel bad right before you kill me, which is most of the time it really was.
Well, unless the secret is told to Judd and then he goes to confront his father about it. So there's a little bit of
that's the closest you get.
That's the closest.
And like fair enough, but I just think like for the amount of times that they do it, like because it doesn't matter when he says it to Pam Anderson, Pam Grier, very different movie as Pam Anderson. But I just kind of wish they would have done more of it because again, like I like this kid's performance. I like this guy's performance, Jack Mulhern.
Pam Grier calls the mayor and just says, "This is how it starts."
You really think Bill buried Timmy?
This is how it starts. Just stirring up shit.
Yeah, you're right. That's how it starts. Stir shit up. Knowing your secrets, your darkest thoughts. Playing with its food. Then people start dying.
Well, so much for drama. Okay, I'll see you at the diner. I'm like, that's how you're going to unveil all this stuff, and already this setting in motion this thing that starts to build throughout it. This idea that there's been this secret society of people fighting against it, which is such YA bullshit. Which is like you're moving it away from horror into dark fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Because part of the horror of all this is that they're just people. They're just regular people like you and me. Any of this could happen. But as soon as you start this whole like there's this secret cadre of fighters and protectors, then it's not horror. It doesn't feel as horror-y anymore, particularly like with this series and as a prequel.
Sure.
Again, like does not make sense for Judd going forward or any of it, but just that no one in town knows any of this. And
well, it's not like they do, like they're just 5 families or whatever that know the secret. It's not like they like are the forces that stand against the darkness or anything like that even.
But they make it seem like that, I think.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, it's just like they don't have any cool powers. They're not in a weird Pet Sematary cult or anything like that. They just sort of know about it.
If it was that well known enough that you had to have this secret group, why don't you fucking do something about it? You know what? Like, why don't you do more than just like, well, we put a bunch of sticks there to prevent people from getting there. What else can we do? Like, that's the maximum amount of our powers. It kind of falls apart under scrutiny.
Sure. Yeah. The mayor holds a meeting with the sheriff, and Judd's dad, and Pam Grier shows up, a little worse for wear.
Marjorie, what happened?
I killed Baderman's fucking dog.
So she's got a big scratchy face now because she got bit by the dog. Timmy awkwardly approaches a party and asks to dance with Donna, Manny's sister, who obliges until Manny has had enough and tackles him. Timmy starts talking about how Manny and Donna will never get out of Ludlow. So this is the one time that Timmy does interact with the rest of the townspeople. And it's just too much for Manny.
And this party, I don't know, this party seemed very like decorated like a current party with like the Christmas lights or whatever. It just felt like it nothing about it seemed very 60s to me. Because this is, by the way, this is we have been introduced to Donna Rivers, Manny's sister.
Yes.
Who has been making these cool masks. She's been having these dreams and dreaming these masks and making them. And I think it's a way to try to tie this. Eventually they'll try to tie it to the Micmac stuff and like that these were protecting ancient people, but it doesn't really do that or go anywhere.
Yeah. She says something about like her grandmother has appeared to her, like, and there's this like generational thing with them as well that it just never feels
I mean, that's so much the problem with a lot of this is that there's just none of it's fleshed out. Same thing with Donna. Like as soon as we get the scene of like Manny coming into the party and there's Donna and she like sees him and blows bubbles at him. I'm like, oh, this person is dead. I'm going to see that exact same shot. And
Yep. There you go. And you did. Yeah.
It's also a little weird when Timmy comes up to dance with her because the music like cuts out right as they start dancing. And it didn't feel like the song ended. It just feels like the soundtrack stopped being that song. They're like, there's no more music. And so I don't know. Yeah,
ran
it's just
out.
another bit of awkward filmmaking.
Judd hears something outside his window while he's sleeping, runs outside in his boxers with a rifle and cowboy boots, finds a photo from his childhood with the other kids' faces burned out, that photo, and burned out with a cigarette. Manny jumps in through the window while Judd has his rifle trained on him, and this line did make me laugh, actually.
Fuck. Just use the front door. Are you okay? Here.
I'm good. Oh shit, why are you sexy?
When he sees them in the boxes and boots, that did make me laugh.
I got a kick out of that exchange. It was funny that his dad is sitting outside for some reason, and but Judd is just hot as hell in his boxers. Goes out, finds that thing, and then confronts Manny.
They sit in the truck and they burn the old photo. And this is where they decide they need to go to the old town records that are held in the church. And I got excited.
Yeah, they can't have the conversation in his room. They have to go to his truck to have the conversation for some. That's truck talk.
Yeah, there you go.
You know,
truck
times
talk.
were different then. Manly men talked in trucks.
I did get excited for this part because I was like, ooh, we're going to get, the hunting through old books montage. We're going to get some backstory, like studying in the library and stuff like that. And they do find this old drunk priest in the church for some reason. And he's the keeper of knowledge.
Yeah, which I would have rather they gone to the library, because they just walk into the church and the priest's like, oh, I'm a drunk priest, because this is giving a character depth. Then they just immediately are reading books that he has. And he's like, I found them in an organ. Read them now. Why are you here?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? Just go to a library.
And also, if he's the keeper of this knowledge, it's just so anytime these two teenagers walk through, he's just like, yeah, I've got some weird old shit that I could tell you about right here. There's no prompting that I really remember of that.
Right. Or just, not examining why he's just excited to hang out with two hot boys,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, I don't know. But just they're saying that's where the town records are. I find that makes sense. But I would have rather have them gone through, would have been more interesting to go through town records than to just, it just seemed like a video game.
Have everything prepared.
It just seemed like a video game thing where it's like, oh, here's a guy talking on town records. Select, show me the records dialogue. And he goes, oh, here you go. That was it.
Yeah.
And now we get to probably my favorite part of the movie, and I wish they would have done a little bit more with it.
I liked this bit too. It's kind of amazing that the 1600s looked better than 1969 as far as costuming and effects go.
Because we get a prequel for a prequel. And honestly, I was thinking a little bit about Eyes of Fire, which I probably just because I just recently watched it.
Yes.
And just that thing of in the flashback, the person that wrote it is searching for Ludlow.
Ludlow and his men were tasked with finding fertile land, and he found something. Commander Williams and myself and the men have been traveling inland for 7 days now, hoping to find Ludlow. They discover, as they get further, some creepy shit. They find out that the Native Americans have left that area because of crop rot, which is a great word. I want to just,
that's a great
just
name.
For anything.
Yeah.
Sounds like a kind of German rock or something are you listening to some crop rock?
Right.
But then they come across this very desolate land where there's one guy in a mask, Native American guy in a mask, hitting a drum. And they start asking him what happened to Ludlow. And he says, Ludlow's with the land now. And they find Ludlow, who's eating a guy.
Yeah. Reminded me of Ravenous.
Yeah. A little bit I mean, and the same kind of thing, but this just is over so quick.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they're like,
They named the town Ludlow to remind them of their sins.
Really? Would you name it after the guy that killed Ludlow and saved everyone?
Yeah.
I don't think that worked real well.
And, they do try to do some stuff death is different here. And, it's just what they're attempting here and some of the language that they use. I do enjoy that kind of stuff, and so this whole bit worked.
Yeah. If the whole movie would have been like this, it would have been so much more fun.
Right.
Or at least interesting.
Donna is packing her bags and starts hearing noises. And then a music hit startled everyone more than anything. Yes. Timmy appears out of nowhere and stabs her in the gut. But she manages to get away and run into a sunflower field. Timmy chases her down and stabs her again.
So this is a thing that we completely skipped. And I still have never figured out, speaking of the sunflower field, because earlier when we get the scene with Donna making the masks, Donna and Manny go out to smoke a J in the sunflowers, and they see something. I don't know what it is. Manny sees bleeding sunflowers, and then falls over and pierces his hand on something.
Right.
And then that's it. Like, it's never really discussed what any of that is, right?
Right.
Did I just
no, I never caught up with that.
Yeah, okay.
We skipped over that in the description.
Yeah, because nothing happens there. He hurts his hand, and that's bad. But like, what did he see? He just saw like there was blood on sunflower, and then I did like to think it's like, I'm too high for this.
Yeah, that was funny.
I thought that was funny, but it's still just like, well, what was that scene about then?
I guess, the sunflower is, the place where they go to hang out. And, this is where she's going to get stabbed.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something too, is that like, because Timmy doesn't really have a character, like we talked about in the other ones about what the goals of the dead were.
Right. Exactly.
And
make more dead.
But it seems like he's kind of, he's writing a list and then he's going after, was this someone like he really liked when alive? Like they don't really flesh any of these relationships out with people. They're too busy about just hitting these plot beats.
Right.
Than having actual characters be in it. And so I don't know, like him being mad at Judd. Sure. Okay. There's at least like a scintilla of an idea there of like, you got, but I had to go die in war and you fucker stayed here.
Yeah.
There's something there, but even then that seems to have explored all of that we're going to.
Sure.
But yeah, so much of his other like stuff they need to spend a lot more time with Timmy.
Yeah. Like, why does he go after Donna?
Yeah. I know Timmy wasn't as buff as Judd, but we needed some more time.
Right. Cut back to Judd's dad. He's got an old evil book. Kind of looks like his own Book of the Dead here with the way it's like drawn on the inside.
Yeah.
And you just get these like, again, like video game hints. It just says like, you must aim for the eyes, why? I don't know, but okay.
The Native American guy mentions that too. Like, aim for the eyes. And it's maddening, not just because we went from a scene of exposition dump to Henry Thomas finishing up that exposition dump in a different book.
Right.
Which is just dumb as hell.
Yeah.
But the fact that like in an interview, Lindsay Anderson Beer had said, I think it was with Rue Morgue, had said that like, I really like this, I'm kind of a horror fan and I like this one because it's not really clear like what they are when they come back. Are they zombies or not? You're trying real hard to make them zombies.
Yeah.
As soon as you say you got to hit them between the eyes or hit them in the eyes, you've made them zombies.
Yeah. You're calling it like headshot.
Yeah, you got to put one
Classic
in the brain. That's the only way to
thing.
stop it. That's a zombie. And that's, that to me is so much less interesting than just what, I know we ask questions about what these things are and what they do, but some of that was more just how it was told. I don't necessarily want the full answer. But in this case, doing that just felt like a bummer.
Yeah.
I know it's the prequel to the 2019 one because they gave Gage a shot and that was enough.
Yeah, there you go. Timmy Baterman is seen sucking on some meat right out of the fridge, just eating raw meat. Yeah. Duchovny catches him, and I did like this little bit where he's just kind of not sure what to do about it.
Where's Hendrix?
Dead.
Is that his blood?
No.
Whether it be Duchovny's acting or just like a little bit of character right there, he's not full on regretting his decision, but he's just like, what do I do with my boy who's now eating raw meat out of the fridge?
Yeah,
like
that boy ain't right.
Yeah,
that was something there. It was that exact scene where I went like, boy, I'd like just a whole movie of this.
Of these two guys.
Of this, experiencing this. Now again, like I already mentioned Death Dream, that would have been a lot like Death Dream in certain regards, but I wouldn't have minded because I like David Duchovny. I like it with this guy. I totally just let me see this interaction play out. Let me see him make this realization that, boy, maybe resurrecting my dead son wasn't the best move. Notes that we've seen before, but just give me some sort of emotional depth to any of this, please.
Right. Yeah. They put all the details together about the founding families. You got your Ludlows, your Buccards, your Crandalls. Sometimes that kind of stuff works for me, the sins of the father stuff. But you do get a shot of the Biffer hell of a sniffer grave.
I did enjoy that.
There.
I did enjoy that callback.
And there was some kind of neat vocal effects in here from the, like, I guess it's supposed to be like the Wendigo not speaking, but something like that here.
Dan Crandall takes his son Judson to, he's going to let him know, because the book he was reading was like,
this journal is now yours. One day it will be your son's.
This was my book. Now it's going to be yours. And then you're going to give it to your son. Apparently his dad wrote it or something. And then so they go to the pet cemetery, the place where kids are burying their pets all the time. And it's not that big of a deal other than, dead pets. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, Judd starts feeling weird.
What is that?
It'll do that. Gets in your head, messes with your mind.
That's why he prefers the dead.
put up less of a struggle.
It's like, but whatever's here is not here. It's the pet. This part's fine. It's the stuff beyond this that's bad. And
maybe it's a proximity thing,
I guess. But then, like, no one's noticed this before, or do you have to have that Crandall blood to feel it?
Oh yeah. Why aren't all the kids who bury their pets there?
Or is it that like the kids can't? You know, they're kids. They don't really understand what's going on, and so maybe the masks protect from that. I don't know.
There you go.
It's all, I'm trying to make this interesting.
But you know, here is where they did say that they built the deadfall right there,
starring Nicolas Cage and Michael Biehn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to keep people out of the woods,
to keep people from seeing Deadfall. Michael Biehn, Nicolas Cage.
Go watch Deadfall.
Do not.
The families all made a pact when the town was founded. They're really just driving this home. And Manny gets home, finds all of Donna's art supplies strewn about. And oh yeah, now we're at the hospital where Nora is. I forgot completely about this character until right now. So Donna shows up looking pretty rough. Don't know why. Oh, she must have been buried in the pet cemetery after she was stabbed in the sunflowers. So, okay. By Timmy, our villain. And instead of a nurse taking care of her, poor Nora does have to start looking after her, which made me kind of laugh. I was just like, shouldn't there be nurses around looking after this poor woman?
Right. But also, why is she there? Why is she coming after Norma?
That why is she drawn to the hospital at all?
Manny made a joke earlier about how there were being only like 150 people in the town.
Right.
Why did you need to take her out?
Well, also, has Donna and Norma interacted at all in this movie?
No, because Norma has been bitten by a dog immediately and is taken out. Like, so, I mean, clearly, I think they're supposed to have some past because of the well-established friendship between Judd and Manny. But it doesn't, she's just there for some reason because you, like everyone else, forgot that Norma was in it and we should probably do something
with her. Yeah. Nora tries to clean her up, but the skin on her foot starts peeling back, which is a pretty decent shot.
I thought it looked cartoony. Like just the way that because it's like it's a neat idea, but like it's a very CG effect, which fine, whatever. But it's just like the way the flesh was springy, it just seemed kind of I expect to kind of roll up like Elmer Fudd's cravat or whatever. What do we call that? Where it's the bow tie and the
the cummerbund goes around the waist. Right. I think it is a cravat there.
Okay.
Underneath the jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just it would roll up like a shade and it just sort of, I got that vibe from the foot thing. So. But I do like how quickly it which, I mean, she just died.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I don't know how this black magic works.
We don't know these rules.
Yeah. It's like, well, okay, you're going to decompose a lot faster, but I don't know.
There's an odd character moment here when Donna accuses Norma.
You hate the poor and the rich and all the rest of us so beneath you.
And then Donna kills a nurse and then just runs after Norma. So I didn't know what she was trying to get there. You don't care for the rich or the poor,
That might have worked if Norma was a character, like, and we knew something about her. That's fine. But I did like when she cuts the nurse's throat, Norma is slapped with blood. Like they whipped that blood. It wasn't just sprayed on her or whatever, but she just smacked in the face by blood. And I was got a big chuckle out of me in a good way. Like totally. I was not expecting that. So
yeah. They have a scuffle and Donna starts choking Norma out with a crutch. Cut back to Bill. He gets to deliver a classic "get off my property" line as the dad approaches.
Now, Bill, we can do this the hard way or the harder way.
Get off my property.
Bill, what have you done?
I thought it only fair. Give me back my son.
This is another beefcake. Judd gets out of the car and runs into the hospital and finds "farm" written in blood on the floor. Don't know why Judd went to the hospital other than maybe just check on Norma, but he's getting out all anxious. So I guess he knows that Donna's there.
Yeah, I guess.
Don't know. Judd pulls up and he and his father squabble a second until Judd demands to go into the house. And Bill says the plan is the two of them will rush in and save the two women while he holds Tommy down and they set fire to the place. And then Pam Grier shows up with an arsenal of rifles and hands them out. So we've rushed headlong into our final sequence somehow. Everybody has to converge on the same space and it just...
They've been training for this moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then David Duchovny's like, just basically says like, yeah, I was wrong. This was dumb. All right, let's kill him.
Right.
There's not even, there's no like, you don't feel any kind of emotional weight to any of it. As much as I didn't like Lewis's performance in the first one, when it came time to do the deed, that he brought it.
Sure. Everyone starts stalking around the house with rifles raised. They find a spiral drawn over all the names in the family of the town. Timmy stands over the dead sheriff and lights something on fire, because we're always lighting fire on Pet Sematary movies. Although I guess, this would be the sequence in the Lambert version where they flash back and you see everybody running in and like setting fire to the house.
That was the men of the town no longer putting up with Timmy's shit.
Donna shows up all dead. She starts slashing and Manny pleads, don't shoot her, which I thought that moment was kind of effective because he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Or at least nobody's told him. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what anybody knows actually at this point. But I did like him kind of pleading like, please don't shoot her. Dad shoots her, and then he gets to have the line.
That wasn't Donna anymore, son. Sometimes dead is better.
Donna stabs the dad, and then Manny shoots Donna. That was their big action sequence, big set piece in the kitchen. And I don't know, it sure is fast paced.
Yep.
That's all I can say for it.
I mean, if I cared about any of these people, this might mean something.
Any of these characters. Yeah. They all go down into the basement to wait out the fire that they've just set because don't go out the front door.
I don't know.
Yeah. He says like, we got to wait out this fire by going down into the basement. And I'm like, or you could go out the front door, the back door. You just go.
It's hard to miss a house, particularly when it's on fire. You can usually see it,
Yeah.
There's something about it that makes it noticeable.
Yeah. They discover a tunnel and crawl around down there thinking like, I guess Timmy dug this giant series of tunnels since he's been back.
I guess. Okay.
Right.
Again, it just feels so much more fantastical. I know this is a series about people rising from the dead, but it's like, what is happening here? He just like dug a bunch of escape tunnels. Like, you know what? That's what the original was missing. It focused too much on like grief, and people's emotions, and not enough about random tunnels
that would make cool action set pieces. That the problem is you can't see anything in these tunnels.
No.
There's some squishy stuff down there, and I thought at first that they discovered Timmy's body down there, and I was just like, well, where's the tension now? But then I guess I realized that it was more just David Duchovny having like flashbacks of Timmy as a child.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, fuck. That I got so mad here because
I was so confused.
But like the flashbacks is, of course, him and his son playing catch. Because again, let's just do this shorthand. Let's just do this. Yeah, you know what I'm saying by this. I don't need to actually like do this. I can just do these. I don't need to actually present you with any sort of emotional realism or relation with these people. I can just do these signifiers and you get what I'm getting at, because that's all that matters is just going through the motions to get this out the door. That's what I mean when I say that this movie is content. Like there's just no attempt made on any level to other than just hit beats, to do anything other than just hit beats. And it's so frustrating and frankly, a little bit insulting, which I think is why I'm so hard on this movie versus like Pumpkinhead 4, which like,
sure.
But I think is that where they find Norma? Because like Norma gets kidnapped and like is trapped in something where like cement is falling on her or something. She's just in the mud.
That's it. Yeah.
Because like, so you just brought Norma back to then put her in other danger. Like what?
Right.
Why do you have this character?
To give Judd somebody to be concerned about.
Well, he's already got his friend that's murdering people. Like you could have done a whole thing with that. It's sort of like the actually done better in this, but in Armageddon, where it's like, well, don't blow up the entire planet. My girlfriend lives there.
Yeah, right. All of a sudden, we're out in the woods. Like they go from the tunnels to the woods, and there might have been a connecting shot there, but I missed it. Looks like Timmy was moving unnaturally fast through the woods. That's the impression I got. Maybe they were trying to give him some sort of dead powers or something. Our guy Judd walks out into the swamp and Timmy attacks him and they fight in the water for a while. And then Manny shoots a flare at Timmy and blasts him in cross-cutting with Nora digging herself out of the mud.
Yeah.
Nora and Judd now go back home. There's a montage at the end. And at the very end, we see Judd ending on the porch with a cigarette.
Yeah, well, this is because he wanted to get out, but then he decided he needed to stay because, well, we left out that during the kitchen thing, that his dad Henry Thomas gets stabbed through with a shotgun.
Oh,
He
right.
gets Pumpkinhead
he
style.
He gets pumpkin-headed.
Yeah, stabbed through with a shotgun. And of course, you're not going to think about that when it comes time to bury a kid's dead cat. You're not going to think about that at all. Your dad getting stabbed with a shotgun. But so the big irony is that they decide to stay because we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. But Manny gets to leave. Manny finds a way out because there was like one line of dialogue about how he should leave. And so, do you see, like, it's kind of ironic that it ended this way. I don't care. Good.
He's
good
so
for him.
altruistic, though. He wanted to help somebody, and finally he helped his best friend.
That's true. That's
that he
true.
used to hang out in this treehouse with.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
But I'm glad Danny's leaving. Good luck. Leave this horrible place, these horrible people. Just get out of here, Manny, and go do something good.
Yeah. And it does end with someone says, like, stay the fuck out of Ludlow, and then a massive truck driving by as a bullet on the scene.
He also, of course, has to say it because even though they've said it once, they have to say.
But believe me when I say, sometimes dead is better.
Because again, you got to hit that beat.
Because let's not have that mean anything. Well, other than just it means it's a zombie movie, I guess.
Right.
It's frustrating because it's the source material that was there and what it's sort of built off of. It's not addressing, other than the beats from it, it's not addressing any of that same kind of grief or emotional stuff like that. But it's also just as a standalone movie. This was like, I'd never heard of Pet Sematary. I'm going to go see this. It's just bad and doesn't make sense and is uninteresting. And that's a bummer.
Yeah. And it's too bad because like I've said, and I'm by no means defending the movie. It's just like, I get drawn into like easy folk horror tropes.
Sure.
Like I just like that stuff. And so I can be a sucker for it, but it just, none of us like came together, and it just has this like sheen over it that just feels like we're just throwing this stuff in there.
Right. Like
because we have to.
It's not even like a pastiche of other movies. Like it just feels like this is what a horror movie is supposed to kind of do. I feel like all the jump scares don't, like, a lot of them don't really work. Like they're just paced strange. I think the pacing of this movie throughout is ridiculous, and it's just very poorly put together.
Yeah. And, it is kind of funny though, because like, remember as we were talking about the remake and the masks, and we were just like, well, does the rest of the town know about this? We are just kind of coming down hard on the first one, just being like, well, what does the mask mean? Is it just something cool for the end? We get a little bit of an explanation here for it. And we do get the explanation of, there is a town behind this, but it was so unsatisfying.
It was absolutely,
I remember some of our previous conversations, and we're just like, well, like, wouldn't it be better if there's like something behind this?
Yeah.
And then we get that story, but it was just pretty poorly executed.
It was extremely poorly executed because like they reference this, well, there's this force that's doing it. Okay, well, let's explore that. No, it's just Timmy. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's operating through Timmy. Well, then there needs to be some bigger reckoning than just you kill Timmy. But you just shoot Timmy and he's dead. Like,
with a flare.
We stopped before it got too big. Then why even bring it up? You know what I mean? Like, why not just have it be in the background and be, a little bit more that like maybe this thing is happening. Like I thought the first one, or like the remake, hinted at that a little bit better of like, this might be a thing. As John Lithgow being like, this was a rumor, could be this. I don't know. It just gives it lip service, and that's good enough, apparently.
Right. And obviously, as you alluded to, Pet Sematary is about grief, even though I'm so tired of reading about, or horror movies being about grief and trauma. But, that is the hallmark. And the other movies achieved two different levels of it being a personal grief story. Whereas this is just, it's either sins of the father or just like action.
Yeah. I'd much rather, and we'll save it for the wrap, but